What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm Matt over at DSR, and today we are at Riders in Bridgewater. We are taking out this Harley Davidson Sportster S 1250. Now, Harley claim this to be their sports bike. I will answer the question, can a Harley really be classed as a sports bike? Can it be sporty? When you look at the rest of the lineup, you've got your classic cruisers and then you've got your baggers. Where does this sit? Let's find out. Obviously, with a Harley Davidson, you've got to start at the engine. So in this 1250, we have Harley Davidson's Revolution Max 1250T. Get it out. We've got there, don't worry. This thing has 1,252 cc's, producing 121 brake horsepower and 125 newton meters of torque. In a nutshell, this thing in sport mode is quick. When I say quick, it's quick for a Harley. In whatever gear you're in, low down from the rev range, it just pulls. Typical Harley torque coming through this. The fueling is fairly smooth. So I'm on third gear, 35 miles an hour, and when you come on and off the throttle, it is pretty smooth, to be honest. There's not a lot of jerkiness and joltiness around town. There could be no issues riding this around. You can definitely get a little bit carried away with this engine, that's for sure. But also with that amount of torque, is you can kind of be in the wrong gear for a situation and it will still pull you through. Let's look at the ergonomics of this bike. As you can tell, there is no windscreen on this, so got clean air across the whole body, no dramas, kind of going your 60 miles an hour. There's no strange buffeting or anything like that. It is a forward mounted kind of pegs position, so the pegs are well above well in front of my knees. So if you aren't used to riding a kind of cruiser like this, it takes a little bit of muscle memory. Just remember to put your feet forward rather than down. Bottom half, actually, it's quite a comfortable kind of seating position. But then that brings me on to the top half. The handlebars for me are just a little bit too far forward. I'm kind of in this like awkward, kind of bent forward position. I get it, it's trying to be some cruiser, sporty, naked style bike. So it doesn't want you upright, because then that's not very sporty, is it? But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm particularly comfortable in this riding position. Obviously, it's not helped out. I am wearing a day sack and it is quite heavy. It's probably just under 5 to 10 kilos. So that's going to cause an extra strain on my back. But position wise, it's not the most comfortable. Moving on to the electronic package on this motorcycle, we do actually have some electronics. As I mentioned this morning, you've got the kind of classic cruisers or your baggers. Classic cruisers, they've got next to nothing. They've got ABS, maybe traction control if you're lucky. This bike, we have got LEDs all round. Got a very nice looking front LED. The high beam is extremely bright. Even in the daylight you can see it reflected off the cars in front. We have got this digital screen in front. What's nice about this is it's got the black background with the white writing, and in this strong daylight today, I'm having absolutely no dramas reading it. We have got 3 different rider modes which can be changed. Top right hand corner on the handlebars, on that cluster, there's a little mode button and you just cycle through. At the minute I'm in sport and that's donated by the S, and all you do to change between the 3 different rider modes is you're going to push it. So we got sport, rain and road. You can definitely feel the difference between rain and road or rain and sport. Rain is just kind of, it's just nice and dulled down a little bit, not as aggressive on the twist on the throttle. But even on road, this thing will get you where you need to go with a little bit of a smile on your face, which is what we like to see. We do have phone connectivity via the Harley Davidson app. So we've got dials on the right hand side, so you can control your music, volume up, volume down, skip, etc. But also this bike will give you turn by turn navigation. It is nice to see on this lesser tech orientated Harley that there is still some form of phone connection, phone connectivity. We've also got tyre pressure monitoring system on this bike, so you can keep an eye on your tyre pressure, and the cruise control as well. There is a button for heated grips. I don't think this bike has got it, or they're not activated, but that is something you can obviously add on, unlock, not quite sure. You almost don't get the feel of riding a Harley on this bike. I'm going to put it out there. The engine, the character, the sound, it's just not very Harley-like, you know. Typical Harley, you turn it on and it rumbles and it sounds good, even just with stock pipes on it. This is quite muted. So 100% if I got this bike, I would be changing up the pipes on this, just to get a little bit of extra volume out there. We have got some big fat tyres front and rear. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. I'll show you when we do a walk around. Problem with big fat tyres is it means handling is very slow and sluggish, and this thing doesn't want to flick into the corners. As soon as you start kind of going on some form of lean angle, it just wants to stand itself back up. That's one thing to note, its flickability isn't really there for it being classed as Harley's Sportster. Definitely takes a little bit of effort to get this thing kind of moving around. I'm not sure I'd want to be throwing this around some twisties, that's for sure. Along with the handling is the brakes and suspension. On this we've got Harley's 4-piston pot radially mounted calipers. The back brake is, you have to really push on it to the point where you start pushing, it doesn't feel like there's anything happening. Front brake, 2 fingers. I'm pulling probably half an inch or more before kind of anything's happening. For me personally, there's not a massive amount of confidence in the brakes on this bike. This bike has only done 130, 140 miles, so it's still well within its braking period. It needs to work. We've got 43mm inverted forks at the front, your usual amount of adjustability with them, and then we've got a piggyback monoshock at the rear, which is hand adjusted. I'm heavier than the average man. I'm 115 kilos, and at the minute the way this bike is set up, I'm getting bounced around on these back roads, so it's a little bit too stiff for me, so I'd have to definitely get it adjusted to my weight. Can't just say the suspension is bad because it's not set up for me, but the way it is at the minute, it's too hard. If you are looking at the Harley Davidson Sportster S, it is going to set you back £15,900, and you have got 4 different colour options to choose from there. You can have the black, grey, pearl white, which is this one, or blue, and I believe you're not going to have to pay any extra for those different colour options, which is nice to see. We've got a weight of 228 kilos, so in the grand schemes of Harleys, that's actually really light. The cruisers that I showed you at the start of this video, they're coming in at around 310 kilos, and then the baggers are going to push you up to like 360 kilos. So this is like 140 kilos lighter than some of those other Harley Davidsons. So that's what I'm saying. So in the grand scheme of Harleys, this actually is pretty light. It's just a shame that the big tyres makes the handling sluggish, because otherwise I think this thing you can have a little bit of fun with it. But with this tyre profile, negative. Here we are then, having a little walk around of the Harley Davidson Sportster S 1250 for 2023. Tell me what you think of this large 160 front. Having a 180 rear is pretty normal, but having a 160 on the front, that is what's going to definitely slow down some of that flickability. We've got a high side mounted exhaust. Like I said, you don't really get that true feeling of a Harley Davidson from it, so they would be the first things to go in my opinion. We've got a nice skid belly pan underneath, just to stop any rocks coming up and hitting it. You've got a single-sided rear number plate holder What I had on my Fat Bob was I got rid of it from the rear and then moved it over to the side, so it was a side mounted and just cleaned up that rear look. Belt driven, so no chain maintenance required. What are we thinking of this pearl white? I like it. I'm not going to say it because not only got the pearl white, but you kind of got like this bronzy colour accent throughout the bike as well. Hopefully you can just about make out this, the side mounted piggyback monoshock rear suspension, hand adjustable. So you literally just turn it around until it clicks, and then you can count the clicks all the way and then kind of keep adjusting it on the ride as well, so you can just kind of fine tune it yourself. Remember what I said about the brakes, we have only got a single disc at the front. That's definitely not going to help with getting this bike stopped. To get access to under the seat, there is a little keyhole just there, but there is no form of storage underneath there. Keyless ignition, flip this round. And for this bike, you need to let it do its full kind of start up. You can't try and start the bike up before this animation's finished. That is what I mean, but it sounds kind of a little gutless for a Harley Davidson. Enough talking off the bike, let's jump back on, finish off the review. As you can tell, this seat height is pretty low, 765mm, I'm 6'1". When I'm sat on the bike, both feet flat on the floor, comfortable bend in the knees, this bike's going to be perfect for pretty much any height rider. I've found the key. That's it, mount the bike. The key needs to be pretty close to the front, otherwise it doesn't want to start up. Let it do its thing. Push it once, don't hold it, just push it and she'll kick up. When you're sat on the bike, the tank is quite long, but it's not wide, so it doesn't interfere with your kind of crotch, it's not pushing your legs out. That's handy because obviously you've got side mounted pegs. And this tank is holding 12 litres. This tank is not the biggest, so you are going to be looking at probably 100 miles or so before needing to fill up. What I'm finding with the shifting is going up the gears, no dramas, the shifter moves just a usual amount, but going down I've really got to lift my foot up and push it all the way down because the shift link is about 1.5 foot long. I have found sometimes I've whacked it into neutral by accident because I've not lifted up high enough as well coming up the gears. So slow speed manoeuvrability, like I say, it's the large front. It does have a good turning circle for when you're kind of like stationary, but I say large front, just handling it is a little bit sluggish. So the question I asked at the start was, can Harley Davidson make a sporty type bike? I'm going to put it out there and say no. Yeah, this engine is lively, it's punchy, it's torquey, it's a good engine, but it's the rest of the package. I'm not a fan of this kind of seating position. I don't mind the bottom half, it's the top half for me that kind of doesn't do it. The handling is just too sluggish to be sporty, and then with that single disc up the front, the braking power just isn't there. Like now I'm really trying to push on the brakes. You start asking yourself the question of, am I going to get stopped? But I've absolutely no doubt this bike will be perfect for some people out there. Remember guys, this is just my opinion, take it with a pinch of salt. If you like the bike, ignore what I say, get on and enjoy it. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching my full ride review of the 2023 Harley Davidson Sportster S 1250T. If you did enjoy this, please like the video, more importantly subscribe to the channel. I've got plenty of review videos coming out weekly, and until the next one, ride safe.